I might add, and some great new boots. Nice, nice. So we have just one more session left, so we're going to get right on into it. This is another panel discussion. Panels are the best. We have the best kinds of brains coming together to make a nice, delicious brain soup of knowledge. This is about something everyone in this room is probably thinking about, which is, where is the industry going in the next 5 to 10 years, right? We had our little scrying homes, we're all like little wizards. Where are we going to be going with this? And so we're going to be covering topics like talent retention, funding models, remote work, and how local studios can stay competitive globally. And moderating this super interesting panel is another final boss, dun, 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 the final product boss, which is John Nguyen. And John is a seasoned executive, marketer, and game developer with close to 15 years of industry experience. He's a co-founder of Stompy Bot Productions and TurboPlay, and is currently Xsolla's Canadian Regional Vice President. Please welcome to the stage, John.
How's it going, everyone?
Good.
Last one, come on, a little bit more energy. I know you have it in you. That's right. I think somebody missed a little mark back in the room, but all right. I'd like to welcome my panelists to the stage. Please welcome Ryan Filsinger. Jade Yhap. Shawn Woods. And last but not least, Greer. Welcome, everyone. So today, for the last piece to close out the event, I'm going to talk about the future of the Atlantic game industry. So everyone's starting to know lots of hard stuff happened over the last few months. Quick introduction myself. So thank you very much, Alison, for the quick intro. She failed to mention that even though I'm from Quebec, my 2 studios and companies were in New Brunswick.
Woo. Let's go.
And so I'm going to ask our panelists to introduce themselves a little bit and why they're here as well. So go ahead, Ryan.
Hi, I'm Ryan Filsinger, founder of Iron Fox Games. We're a game development studio primarily based out of Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. However, we have staff in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, and been in the game industry almost 20 years and probably worked with half this room at this point. So that's me.
Jade?
Hi, I'm Jade Yhap. I'm the president of InteractiveNB. We are the provincial association for the interactive digital media sector in New Brunswick. I was co-founder of Greer Games back in New Brunswick several years ago. I've had 10-ish years of experience working in the sector at this point, and yeah, excited to be here.
Hey, I'm Shawn Woods. I've been in the games industry for 25 years now. I wear many hats. Founder of Alpha Dog Games that sold to Bethesda, sold to Microsoft, shut down for Microsoft, rebought from Microsoft. You know, now with Brave Bear, doing many other things, trying to get a game hub going here and building up an incubation accelerator program. So many hats, and that's where I'm at now.
Hello, my name is Greer. I'm the co-founder and director of besszong, Nova Scotia's 3rd newest game studio. There's been a lot of development out of the besszong crowd. But yeah, I am currently leading a small team of developers, mostly impacted by layoffs, somewhat impacted by school shutdowns. So I'm kind of, collecting the the tricks of the industry is everything that
So over the course of this panel, what we're going to do is address a couple of key topics. First, we're going to set the table a little bit of where we are. We're going to talk about some particularities of the region in terms of how it impacts video games. And then after that, we're going to have maybe a Q&A at the end. As you may have noticed, the selection of panelists are brought here to represent a broad swath of the region and also in terms of experience. So to set the stage on our first topic, we need to see where we are, get the lay of the land. And so Atlantic Canada has built a real games industry, viable studios, strong regional identity, world-class talent, and it goes beyond the games itself. So the region is now at a turning point. Jade, from an industry association vantage, how would you describe Atlantic Canada's game scene today versus 5 years ago? And maybe also Shawn later, given his perspective. Yeah.
Well, from our perspective, at least from a New Brunswick perspective, just to take that off first, at least we have something now. I'll say 5 years ago it was really hard to identify any other people in the sector. And just as of lately, we've gone up from 6 I could identify in about the fall to over 20 at this point. So that's just New Brunswick. When it comes to the rest of the ecosystem, things have popped up over the last few years and even over the last few months at this point. So even though there may have been some things that have happened that have, put a bit of a downer on certain parts of it, it's not necessarily the doom and gloom that people make it out to be. It's honestly a chance to be an opportunity.
Yeah, I think we all know studio shutdowns. Well, mine was one of them. So, it affects everybody, and what I see here is a community that we've been talking about. Everybody that's been here to help each other out. It's been challenging. I'll say it. I'll be honest. Yeah, it's been shitty. I'll leave it at that right now.
You leave it at that? Anybody else want to add a little topic in there? No? So actually for the rest of the panelists, what made you choose to build a studio here rather than relocate to say Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver?
I'll take that one to start. The reason I chose Prince Edward Island was that's where I grew up. So I feel like I had a little bit of the hometown advantage of knowing the people, the players, the location. Second, and I've touted this a lot to a lot of people, and we've talked about it half a dozen times today already, is that the programs that the Prince Edward Island government has in place for us is unique across the country. So if anybody doesn't know the way we don't get a tax credit, we get what's called a labor rebate, and our labor rebate is paid out to the studios at a quarterly basis. So every 90 days we're getting cash injections from the government, which has saved the studio 3 times for us, that's how we made payroll. And a lot of the other programs you have to wait 18, 24, sometimes I've even heard 36 months in some cases in Ontario. And so choosing that specifically for us was paramount in our early days of starting the studio. That night I knew 100 or 200 devs there locally, so finding talent was quite easy for us.
At risk of repeating my joke from earlier, I bought a house here, so I can't really. But to be real, I did actually look at relocation, or at least working remotely. It felt so evil after working at Ubisoft for 10 years to then, move into another large corporate structure where I was just going to be locked in a room doing the same thing over and over. And at the same time, we had a talent base of 71 people who were suddenly available. So I mean, even drawing a fraction of that is I can build a team with really nothing. So why not take advantage of that?
Anyone else want to add? Shawn?
I think I'll just touch base on that because I actually moved here from Vancouver. So I came from a place that had an abundance of developers, like startup scene and everything. I didn't really have a choice, my wife was here. So, similar to building a house, having kids and everything like that. So I moved across the country, and when I met Jeff, my business partner for Alpha Dog, we were both in a similar life situation. We decided to have a go at it. Mobile games in 2012 was a big deal, a lot of opportunity there. So we started with that opportunity. So why would I choose here? Like what I've discovered over the last 15 years are that the community and the people are really tight-knit here. The tax credits are really great, one of the best in Canada, but you do need the capital in order to get that. And it's also nice to be away from the noise, like the other major hubs. You're competing in a world-class scale of games here. And it's kind of nice to be away from all the noise, to just focus on your craft, focus on what you're doing. Now that comes with challenges as well that we can talk about. You're also away from the noise, right? You're not in it, in those hubs to be at the epicenter of what's going on. But I kind of enjoy it. It's kind of like who you know. It's much more rooted. You can have kitchen parties and things like that, and really kind of get to know everybody here in the community. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I know every developer in Nova Scotia by name.
Actually, I'm going to build on that topic, right? You touched on it, Shawn. It's basically like, yes, you're away from the noise, but you're like, you mentioned some of the challenges as being ironically away from the noise, right? So what are some of the other challenges have we seen, or maybe Ryan want to add into it?
Yeah, I mean, being away from the noise, one of the things our strategies has been making sure that we're everywhere, and it takes a lot of effort. In a typical year of business development, we're at 6 to 8 shows a year, which is like strain on travel, mental, physical, the voice, all of that stuff. But that grinding over long periods of time pays off. Because somebody will remember you 18 months later after you had the conversation, and they'll give you a phone call, which just actually happened to me last week. And so it's you have to counteract it, but I think it's worth it for the small town feel, the 8-minute drive to the office. I'll take the 3-hour flight to Toronto or Montreal just to get somewhere, 6 times a year instead of having to be stuck in traffic. So I like the small town life, even though it comes with a little bit of extra effort on the other side, but you have to do your due diligence on that.
Any other challenges?
Well, the big challenge is it's capital, like trying to find cash and money, and because you're not in the big cities where there's more meetups, there's more people to talk to, there's more VCs, there's more eyeballs. So yeah, you have to be a lot louder.
Just to add to that, because we are sort of remote in a way, many of us are literally on an island. It's hard to get people here.
We have a bridge.
It's a very long bridge.
Is our troll taking tolls?
Yes, well, it's only $20 now. Thanks, Kearney.
It's free to get on the island.
Say, only to get off.
So I get you. But to get international people here, to have connections like at this event is very, very important. It's also very difficult, right? So if you're not doing this and you have this in your backyard, you gotta travel, right? You gotta you gotta travel the circuits, January, February, March, whatever, 6 or 7 times a year to go out and meet the people who are here right now, right? And, in our experience of bringing people to Nova Scotia, it's hard. I go by a 2-flight rule. If you're 2 flights away, it's difficult, right? It's not a direct flight. It's much more difficult every extra leg of a flight that it is. So it's just as difficult to get to Nova Scotia or PEI or New Brunswick as it is to getting to Europe for most people.
I might push back on that a little bit because, as you've seen already today, we've got a bunch of people here from all over the place, and I think it's about selling the region and selling the area to them and telling them about how great this place is for them to be, because, again, connecting with some of the speakers here over the last week, they love it. It's amazing. They love the people, the place, they love everything about it. So, yes, it is hard to get people here, but I think, to build on kind of what Ryan was saying, a lot of us have built a lot of those connections over the years, and have built those relationships through business development means, and part of activating that for this, I think, is inviting them this way to see if they're, like, not everyone's gonna come, obviously, but at least give them the opportunity, give them the option to come this way and start having those conversations here.
We're gonna, for the interest of time, we're gonna move a little bit forward the topic. I think we've got like a good lay of the land right now. Personally, I've hired some of my best people from Santibat in this region. So I was actually pretty impressed. And traditionally, Atlantic Canada has had some of the best training in the trade. And some of these developers are arguably some of the best in the country. I'm saying this now, I actually live in Quebec. So, these talents work in verticals that go way beyond games. They work in fields like defense, real-world simulations, serious applications, research, development, etc., digital twins as well. But the hard problem is these people, mid-seniors, even people that we import into the region, we kind of touched on that, whether or not it's the next generation growing up or people staying here, is a challenge. It's a challenge. So, open mic question. What does the current talent pipeline in Atlantic Canada looks like in terms of schools, boot camps, training, returners, compared to some of the bigger hubs?
Can I answer this?
You may answer this.
Yeah, for me, the obvious answer was, graduate from whatever program I'm in, go to Ubisoft. And that doesn't exist anymore. So like, at this inflection moment, there is like a definite pressure on us to make sure that we are still fostering those talent pipelines in the environment where we're now like, we don't have that big tentpole studio. And it's really a shame that like the government seems to have gotten the wrong information and they're shutting down the SEC program, but the people who are, running that, they're an incredible wealth of talent and knowledge, and it's just like a shame that they can't continue giving that to students.
One of the things that we noticed as a studio when we first started up was, so we had a similar situation in Prince Edward Island, but 10 years previously, where Electronic Arts came to town, they bought everybody up, made one gigantic studio, and then only hired senior talent for 3 to 4 years. But that was 10 years ago. And so if they had hired junior talent at the time, those junior talent would be the mid to seniors of today. And the joke we have in our studio is you either have 20 years or 20 weeks experience in the industry right now, and there's no middle ground anymore, at least in Prince Edward Island, that's pretty much the case. And so one of the things we've been trying to do as a studio is invest and find the junior talent, but then again, part of the major problem with the current contraction of the industry as a whole has been that there's just not enough cash to even hire the juniors anymore. And so we're in a situation where we can find talent, we have, and we brought in co-ops, but then at the end of the co-op, we're like, sorry, we can't bring you on. And it's been difficult because, and then secondly, luckily yesterday I had the opportunity to go in front of the House of Commons and talk about this exact topic. And so we're working on, going to the government and with recommendations on how we can, get money for junior talent and invest it locally.
I mean, I think that kind of leads into some of the stuff that we're seeing right now, where we're getting people who have to be innovative. We are getting people who need to be entrepreneurs at this point. Again, in New Brunswick, we've got like 7 institutions that do something to develop an animation or games or whatever. And all of those people have been outsourced essentially for us. So our only option right now is to innovate, is to become entrepreneurs. So I think that's another area that we might need to support our young talent, is to push them, not necessarily they don't want to, but encourage them that this is a reality.
Yeah, I guess one last thing. Going on past experience with AlphaDog, we actually fostered a lot of growth from within. So we took on high school students even as like co-ops that then became part of the games industry. They got to learn it. Some of you might even be here. And then they went to NSCC or anywhere else or Dalhousie. They got their schooling done, and then we hired them after, and they did the internship after, and then we hired them right. And then they were lifelong, employees, and built up a really good culture in the company that way. That might not exist anymore, right? There's universities around, but with NSCC, kind of shut down, and some other programs, Eastern College and whatnot, that pipeline might not be there as well.
So from that, interestingly, certain academic institutions are now closing their game-related programs, right? What do you think the impact that will be on the local game industry? First part. Second part, are there bigger economic impacts that come from these decisions, given the current economic climate of spending from the federal government?
Yeah, I have an answer for this. Several of the co-ops that we took on from NSCC intend to go to Gagetown to work like as a civilian with the armed forces, basically modeling and organizing military simulation stuff. With the closure of that program, like the knock-on effects are going to be huge in like any kind of digital media. So like the military is going to struggle from that. So I think like, it's bad for the games industry, but it's also bad for like any media industry.
Ryan, I think a similar situation on PEI?
Yeah, so in PEI we have UPEI, which has a video game development, computer science program, which has been at threat of being shut down, I don't know, as long as I can remember, and I think that's finally happening. And so the knock-on effects are, it's going to be, there won't be homegrown talent available to studios any further, and we're going to have to either look outside or, just keep with the staff we have. And so I'm double down on Jade is like, I think we've got to figure out a way to foster entrepreneurial spirits and invest in startups and take chances in that direction. Because all the flagship studios are gone now.
I think Jade has a unique perspective as well, being so close to Gagetown.
I mean, yeah, I'm in front of it, so it's like it's spitting, it's right there. For us, we're aware that Gagetown is investing more into it. So like the Canadian Force is investing about $1 billion into Gagetown, and that's something we're very aware of right now. And again, as our sector, we're interactive digital media. We're representing video games, but as everything else in between, including video, VR, and simulation, and digital twins, and all that sort of stuff. So for us in New Brunswick, it's what we're kind of looking at as a potential for where this talent is going to go. If there's no video games, that's unfortunate, and I really do, like, I get it. I'm a creator, I understand what you want to do, but if you want to get any experience in this and not end up working somewhere that you shouldn't, like, that isn't in your career path, you're going to have to look at other options. So this is a way we can help retain that talent and help them grow to that intermediate maybe. And then once they have that ability to do that, then we can help them push towards their entrepreneurship as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. We have a couple staff that came from Gagetown programs, and they've been great.
There's also CFB Halifax, Shearwater.
Yeah, actually, I don't think we're going to know really the effects of this for a few years now. And even, as Mary even said, like the entry jobs just aren't there anyway to begin with. So there's challenges all around, not just here locally. But, at the same time, I look at Nova Scotians, or maybe Atlantic Canada in general, we have a hard time talking about ourselves and like marketing ourselves and taking some pride into that too. So part of this is like the program should be propelling that out, right? Marketing it out, because a lot of people didn't even hear about the program. So, there's that too. And I don't think that's just like a single thing there from the school. I think that's people out here are just a little bit too kind sometimes, but don't want to talk about themselves and show about themselves and the good things that are happening. So that's, I think, an angle there. And, with those, actually Atlantic Canada, because you mentioned Gagetown, but the defense and simulation, I think, is a big, big opportunity here in general. And I don't know where that's going to go yet, because it's too soon. But the billions of dollars of industry that is here with all three of the military pillars right here, that is something we definitely have to take advantage of.
I mean, if nobody knows about it, of course attendance is going to be low, right?
It's kind of like marketing a game, right?
Exactly. What one more piece of this. Does remote work make Atlantic Canada more competitive as a base?
We are primarily remote, and we are working at such a velocity that I don't think I've seen in any game studio. I worked in an office in Ubisoft, and I called North Carolina for several months because I was working on a project alongside them. So like, I had like the skills to do that work, so there's no reason why I can't, do it remotely from home, or like have my team work remotely from home and not have to pay for an office. So, I mean, remote work is, to me, it's just like, it's normal. Like, there's no reason to just ignore it. Like, and say, oh, we have to go back to the office. Like, if it works for you, then it works for you. Some people like an office, I like an office, but, we don't have that luxury of affording it right now. So, remote works for us.
It depends on the perspective. On one side, for context, Iron Fox, we've been remote since day one. We started the business in the middle of COVID. I would never run a studio in any other way. But the fact that a remote is available means you're competing against the whole world. And so access to talent and those benefits is widespread now, so you can work with anybody, anywhere, anytime. So that's great, but it also means there's a whole lot more competition out there. But yeah, I would never run a studio in any other way ever again.
Zombie Bot was remote in 2012. Jake?
You're 10 years ahead.
I was 10 years ahead.
I think it kind of depends on what your objective is. So like, if you are trying to break into the AAA industry, then you're not gonna get those remote roles. They tend to be for intermediates, they tend to be for seniors. If you're looking at it from an Atlantic perspective alone, like most of our companies are remote. It doesn't matter if you work in Fredericton or Halifax or Charlottetown. Like, we're all in the same area, same region, same time zone. So that doesn't really matter for us locally.
So we've explored 2 out of the 3 pillars of what is called a triple helix. So basically, opportunities in terms of employment, pipelines for training, and the final pillar traditionally in successful video game ecosystem is funding. So the core idea here is basically funding stacks that builds Atlantic Canada, games industry as a whole. We know that it's extremely varied here in terms of tax credit programs, federal programs, maybe something a little different, maybe outside investment and private funding. Studios that win in the next decade will have a certain mix of that, and we're going to explore what is needed, what exists. So how has the funding mix at your studio changed over the last 3 to 5 years, and what are some of the biggest gaps that exist in this region?
I can tell you about the funding changes at my studio over the last 1 to 2 months. So the first thing I have to say is that from my perspective, the governmental supports are very frustrating. There's a lot of supports for like studios that are able to pay employees. Getting off the ground though is like a completely different story. So there's really no ready and available way of doing that other than the CNF. Basically, we reached out to politicians, we reached out to provincial politicians, and we reached out to ACOA, and none of them were willing to work with us to form any sort of like startup generating of capital. So like, I mean, we were coming at them with a team of people who had decades of experience. Some people on our team had been in the industry for over 15 years. So like, we're not exactly green people. Like we know what we're doing, and it would just be nice to have like a government that is willing to, maybe it's not a lot of money. Like maybe it's like $500,000 in a couple of studios that is just like enough to launch them into a position where they can like have like maybe a year or 2 of dev, and then we can foster some kind of growth that way, rather than like, if you're already successful, then we'll give you a little bit back.
Shawn looks like he's burning.
Welcome to entrepreneurship.
Indie life.
This hasn't changed in 15 years. There's two things. So one, we had a COA money because the COA at the time when AlphaDog first started was funding early startups. So we had $80,000, something like that, for our first game. And then we shipped it in six months. So that was the thing, is that we built the game, we shipped it, and then that game was used as leverage to get the next thing, right? Now we had a very difficult year too, probably in the negative. But as we built up that momentum through networking and connections and getting work to hire and getting the next thing, that gave us momentum, right? So our first project was very purposely short and small within our range to go to market quickly. And then that springboarded basically the next 10 years of AlphaDog until we sold the studio. So there's that, and it's not the government's job to solve our problem, right? So we have to look at communicating and breaking down those barriers. I think that was mentioned in this morning's talk. It's not just Invest Nova Scotia or ACOA or anybody else, it's export, Nova Scotia, everybody else, to help understand the business of video games so that they're not just looking at it as a hit-driven business when, yes, it still is, but there can be a lot of variations to success in that journey.
Right?
Yeah, I can talk about funding for probably an hour. As Iron Fox, we've had, let me think. Okay, so we started as a work for hire studio. So we took a contract where everything we built was somebody else's product. So the joke we have is in 2022 was an amazing year to start a business, but 2023 and beyond has been a pretty shitty one to run one. I've gotten ACOA funding, Heritage Canada funding. I get funding from the provincial from province of PEI through 3 different programs: Innovation PEI, a marketing budget, a hardware budget, and I've had years where I've had 26 contracts. So we did, we mopped people's floors pretty much just to keep the doors open. I've had years where we've signed deals with Netflix and then had them cancel 6 months later. So I've gotten pretty much money from, I don't know, everywhere you can possibly think, and as well as publishing deals too. So, you gotta kind of find the dollar under every rock, find every nickel and every cushion. The last thing I'll say is, games are cheaper and faster to make now than they've ever been before. And so if you're in a situation where money's tight, you can make a prototype and get something in somebody's hands at a speed that is unmatched in the last 20 years, and I don't think it's going to get any slower.
So we've heard from people from provinces that actually have some kind of support system.
Hey, I'll talk about it all day.
But so Jade,
we have a lot of New Brunswick as well, so
yeah.
I'll let Jade talk.
Yeah. So Jade, what does Interactive New Brunswick want the provincial government to do? Because it's pretty much virgin ground.
Okay, so first of all, you're really putting me on the spot here. But secondly,
You also agreed to the terms and conditions.
I know, that's my fault. Honestly, I think the highlight that I'm hearing here, and it's the highlight that I'm hearing from also our own companies, is seed funding is the #1 issue at this point. And that's the thing I think we need to look at first before we look at anything else for New Brunswick. That being said, I don't think it's an incentive or whatever is outside of the conversation of what we want to do. I'm just saying that the #1 issue right now for New Brunswick specifically is we've got studios that we're trying to stand up and we don't have as many opportunities for funding as, say, Toronto or Montreal. So the thing that I would be looking for at the start off is to figure out how do we make that seed capital come. Is it a mix of private capital and government funds, or is it a NDIF program, or be involved? We need to figure out what we need to do to get that seed funding off the ground for our startups.
Okay. Open mic question, and maybe more specifically to Shawn and George. Nova Scotia has some of the most generous incentives in the country. That's a well-known fact. But what needs to happen to spark further growth in the province, especially given what just happened?
The tax credit's great. but you need the funding you need the capital for it to have it, right? So, 40% of zero is still zero. So it's, you need that injection. And George, to your point there, it is hard, right? And that is the point of being an entrepreneur. It is hard, and things have changed. And these communications with private equity and venture capitalists, they'll take time. And at that times, this is not weeks, it's not months, this could be years of time. So in the meantime, it's just trying to figure out how to get that initial seed capital or whatever it is, or if you guys are just working, on volunteer or whatever it is, right, to go to market quick and then get some revenue, going so you can kickstart your company that way. These are challenges, right? But you're not going to see that tax credit unless you actually have the money to spend to begin with.
Hey, Tim Houston, think about how much money you're saving not paying Ubisoft that tax credit this year.
Singer. We don't have much time left, and I'd really like to close the loop on this, seeing that we've just explored the Triple Helix. What does Atlantic Canada need to do right now, or in the next 2 years, in order to win the next decade? Go.
Me first. Atlantic Canada right now has the ability to collect developers from across the country. There's been so much layoffs. There's so much talent that's just floating around right now that we could really build something great here. We just need to find the will to build it. So basically, there's 71 developers. Well, 10 of them have been picked up by Game One now, but the rest of us, we're still floating around. We're still here, so you can pick us up. But then there's others, there was 1,000 people laid off at Epic, so there's some of that talent over. There was no reason why our population could spike during COVID, and all that talent flowed in. I saw it firsthand. We brought a lot into Ubisoft, so there's no reason why that pipeline can't just continue. Keep building up that talent base, and also fostering our own growth, our university students, our college students. They're talented. We've got research institutions here that are the best in the world. So there's literally no reason why we can't build that kind of industry here.
Shawn?
Build and ship games. Build your companies. You got to ship it, right? That's the thing. All of this talent here goes to waste if you don't actually get a product out the door. You don't get an audience going. You don't get that community going. And those three things are trying the right community marketing and developing. Own the product, own the IP, and the world is literally your oyster because we stuff here. Let's go to ocean things.
Ocean things. So the all boats rise with the tide?
Yeah, rise and tide raise all boats. But that's the key though. You got to ship your product, and you got to get your audience, and you got to get your marketing going, and you got to do that loop. The more that you do that, especially as new people or new companies, the cycle gets easier and easier and easier as you go, right? So don't be afraid to put it out there. Don't be afraid to test it early, get that feedback, and then build towards the audience that you're building.
I'm also going to kind of use a ship thing because why not? I think the region needs to figure out how to build, ship, and sustain. I think that's the best way to put it, and that involves the right incentives, the right things for seed to help bring those entrepreneurs forward, and also the right business models for each individual company, because again, you might not be making games all yourself. Maybe you're doing support work at some point or whatever, but you need to figure out how to balance that. Just us as an ecosystem has to figure out how to balance that to bring us forward.
Yeah, there's not much to add other than, kind of maybe a little bit what +1 on Jade is be ready to be flexible. Find time in different ways, in different directions. Entrepreneurial is a journey, it's not a destination for sure. I'm a big proponent of ship and learn and do it again over and over and over and over again.
Well, with that, thank you very much. A round of applause for our audience. And like that, I wish you fair seas, fair winds.
Are we doing Q&A?
I think we can do Q&A actually. 5 minutes, so I'll take 1 or 2 questions. Ted?
I want to take John's question and extend it in the direction. Earnestness and urgency are often difficult to bring up, but what are the time bombs that you see in your part of the industry that, if they are not addressed sooner rather than later, will destroy all of this amazing effort that the people in this room and yourselves have been driving?
I got that one. I can answer. Well, my answer is AI. And it's probably the big kind of hanging thing in the atmosphere. I don't know where it's going. The industry wants to hate it because of the artistic reasons, but it's inevitable. And we've had to make some decisions based off of that. Quick 5-second example is a contract I signed last year, which was 6 weeks of work, can be done in a weekend now, and that's only 6 months later. And so work for hire is shrinking, and that's a ticking time bomb that I don't have an answer to. I don't know what it's going to be in 3 years, but it's there.
I think just quickly on that is, yeah, you don't know what it is in 3 years, let alone through like 6 months, right? And if you're not adapting to the market, and I'm not saying you have to do it, but your competitors definitely are. And as entrepreneurs, and you're trying to, right now you're at survival, right? Major things that happen, you're at survival, you're trying to get through this, trying to get a game, and you're trying to compete against the world with those games. So you really have to look at what your competitive edge is, no matter what it is.
Next question.
Well, we're at a very interesting time with AI in that, like, from an outsider's perspective, nobody likes it. If a game is tagged with AI, it's instantly review locked. But it's happening anyway. So like the kind of, you have to kind of reconcile that. Like, are we going to, handicap ourselves? Are we going to put guardrails in place to make sure that we're doing it correctly, or are we just going to full throat it, embrace it? I think that's a question that I don't have the answer to, and I don't know if anyone has the answer.
I think we should go back to making our own game engines.
Yeah,
That's a great use of everybody's time.
Next question, probably the last one, gentleman over here.
Something that I was wondering is for the students who are coming out of secondary school who are in the game development programs and are in a very hard spot right now, what is some advice from you guys being veterans of the industry? What is some key advice that you tell these students who right now seem like it's a very hard time to get into the industry?
Advice for students?
Your skills aren't just game skills, they're all tech skills. That would be my number one advice.
Yeah, quickly, and same thing. So if you want to stay in games, keep building games, whether it's by yourself or in a group of you. But also if you need a job in tech and it's adjacent to games, to stay in it and stay having like one foot in the door kind of thing, do that. And that might lead to a game job in the future too.
I will also add defense. And this 1 year, SpaceX, before they actually got to SpaceX, was at GDC, the Game Developer Conference, specifically to hire game-related skills engineers and modelers. And they specifically came and said, when I asked them, why are you here? This is a game developer conference. They said, we find that game developers are some of the most brightest, flexible systems designers we have ever seen, and a lot better than enterprise trained engineers. I think that's it, that we're at time. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you very much, Shawn, and everyone, the panelists, and for questions. And that's a wrap for XP Game Connect Atlantic 2026. We've gotten into so much today. A lot of it's about digging deeper, right? Digging deeper into your network, into your skills, digging deeper, understanding your audience, operational, from cooperative practices to cash flow, problem solving, finding your blue ocean, and also that our community here is our strength. And if you were in the room for this, a really great line that was said by Samara Adolph was, felt cute, might start a game studio. So So darlings, we'll keep this conversation going. We do have a wrap party, but I just want to thank our wicked awesome sponsors who made all of this available. So we have Platinum level, we have Space Engine. For Gold level, we have Game Mode 1. Woo! Insert coin. Woo! Space Engine, because we didn't get a woo before. Woo! The Lost Pixels. Woo! We have our Silver level. We got a couple of these, so keep fisting those points. Keep pumping those fists. Woo! CFF. Woo! Red Diamond Interactive. Woo! Shred Capital. Woo! And Xsolla. Woo! Bronze level. We have Game Makers 4 Cooperative Futures. MDAD. Pixel Audio. And Hyper Hippo. Real sound. And of course, we can't forget about our supporters, Nordic City. Bose. And Sika. I'm gonna ruin my voice on this. And of course, a huge shout out to the indies today. Not 5, not 10, not 15, 17 amazing, brilliant minds out there, right? So fantastic. And of course, our red shirts. In this world, our red shirts are sacred and we never give them up in a fight. So to our volunteers today, darlings, a huge round of applause. And just darlings, once again, thank you so much. Please visit the website at xbgaming.biz. Find out more about our upcoming events. There's VGLX, MIGS, and many others. Otherwise, you got a couple of minutes until the wrap party. It's at 6:30 at Pacifico. It's not far down, a couple of blocks. Otherwise, darlings, enjoy that. It is sponsored by MDAD, and he has also a band playing there at 9 p.m. So get in there at 6:30, have some nibbles, have some sweets and some drinks, and then dance with your buds. Otherwise, darlings, it's been a wonderful time with you. All the best in your endeavors, and have an excellent rest of your weekend. Cheers.